Well, hello, welcome to Talk for Dodge with Todd McCubbin and myself, Jeremiahjcondon. And today we have Andrea from the animal shelter. How are you doing, Andrea?
Andrea is great. I'm excited to be here, be able to talk about one of my biggest passions.
Yay. Well, let's just kick it off right from the start and ask you a couple questions. What does Almost Home do, and how does it affect our community here in Fort Dodge?
Most people know by now that Almost Home is our community animal shelter, but there's probably a few things people don't know or don't realize about Almost Home. One is that we are a no-kill shelter. We have chosen to be that way, and because of that, we do not receive any government financial assistance. We don't receive any state financial assistance, and unfortunately for Fort Dodge, we're struggling to get even financial assistance from our city. So we're trying to work on that. We need the help because of the areas that we serve, pretty much all of Webster County, and there's a number of them. Then there's Humboldt County and Wright County, Calhoun County, and is Boone County one? I can't even really remember if Boone is one. But each little city in itself has their animal shelters too, or their city pounds. So there's a lot to it, but we are willing to reach out into that radius to help take in abandoned pets or ones that are found as stray. So as Almost Home, we are kind of the central hub for any of these pets that are unwanted, abandoned, lost, neglected. I guess a lot of the words mean kind of the same thing, but we are the central part. So our real name is Humane Society of North Central Iowa. So that's why we cover a lot of area. So like I said, again, we chose to be a no-kill shelter. We don't believe in putting animals down just because they aren't adopted or wanted in a certain amount of months or years. We work with other shelters in this area and kind of out of our area as well to try to find them homes. It'd be just like kids. Everybody deserves and has a special place. We just have to help them find it.
Yay.
That sounds awesome. I guess I knew it was a no-kill shelter, but I didn't know what the repercussions of that were without having the federal and state aid because of that. So I applaud you for putting the effort into it to keep it a no-kill shelter. That takes a lot of effort that, you probably make easier by making an easier decision, but you stick to your guns and do what you do. So that's awesome.
Well, then I have to tell my little story, because you said that there's no time period on how long an animal stays there. And It was probably 15 years ago, my wife and I walked in there, and my wife looked right at the girl working that day and said, "I want the cat that's been here the longest." Mm-hmm. And it was a cat that was there for a whole year, and it was the best cat we ever owned. And it was Tucker. He passed away 2 years ago, November, but he was a really good fat cat. He thought he was a dog. He knew his name. He'd fetch, but he was the boss.
We have 3 pets, and none of them came from Almost Home, but all of them were rescues in one way or another. So we firmly believe in that.
And that is one of the biggest things. You see all those commercials on TV, and your heart goes out to them. They make it real sad and somber. Yes, it is a very sad and somber thing, but little do people know that's happening right in our backyard. So, if you want to help, sometimes you give to these bigger corporations and organizations, and I don't know where the money's going, but I hope that it gets used. If you give locally to Almost Home or to any other charity, you know that money is going to stay right there and help. So that's a perk to helping local shelters.
That's amazing. The next question I want to talk about applies today, but it's not going to apply over the course of time. This is going to the internet, so it's going to be around for years and years and years. But what is the current status of pets at Almost Home, and kind of who's all there and who's all out for adoption right now?
All right. Well, that is a good question. Even through this last year and the beginning of this year being closed to the public, when we first had to make that decision to be closed to protect the staff and the animals, we were really wondering if we were going to be able to make it work. And by the grace of God, we have done just as well with finding homes for animals than any other year. I think we even surpassed 2019's total adoptions. So cats and dogs are still being found their forever homes, and you just call and make appointments. So people don't know usually how many animals we have in at a time. Right now, we're only 50% full of our dogs. So typically we can hold about 40 dogs. We have 21 available for adoption right now. They are all posted on our website. And for the cats, we're typically pretty full with cats most of the time. We can have up to about 65 comfortably in our cat colonies. Right now, we are at about 50. And the coolest thing I'd like to share with you is that we've had a really long waiting list for people who have cats but don't want them anymore or are moving, and we have to put them on our waiting list. And this waiting list has just kind of been a chain holding us down, like for the last probably 5 years. This is just a guess of mine, but it has just been one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, another name on the waiting list. It doesn't go anywhere. This year, and maybe even last year a little bit, we have dipped into that waiting list and we are crossing names off, taking their cats, finding them new homes. So that is a huge thing that we're able to help these families who have been waiting patiently to get their cat into another home.
Funny story about that. I'm just going to add to it because my mother found a cat staring at her patio window not too long ago. And she goes, I really don't want a cat. And she calls Almost Home and, of course, gets put on the waiting list.
Yep.
And has the cat for about a week. And after a week, she's like, I think we're going to keep the cat.
Perfect.
This cat has an amazing home there. I mean, it's just snuggles up and lays on their laps. And it took a week. And then now they don't want to give the cat up. She loves it. And she'll still complain about it for 30 years or 20 years as long as it lives. But at the same time, it was just the funniest story that she's like, yeah, we decided to keep the cat. So,
that's a great story. I hope you continue to do that. Oh my goodness. Well, we also, it is kitten season too. So this is kind of a fun season for people who want kittens. And right now we have 3 mother cats totaling about 16 kittens in foster homes. So they are getting one-on-one attention, and we will be having a surplus of very young and cute kittens to attract other people too who are looking for a cat that'll last a little longer than getting one that's already, a few years old. So that's kind of exciting too.
Could you tell us more about the fostering? Because my wife and I got into that by accident one time because we had a pregnant cat that somebody else was going to just leave out in the field. It was a really sad story. And my wife was like, no, you're not going to do that. So we took it and we went to the shelter, and the shelter was completely full and didn't know what to do with the pregnant cat. So we went home, and we had like a 1.5 car garage at our old house. And so we built like a big, nice bed and put blankets in, kind of like a little warm area in there. And she had 3 babies. One passed away, but we named them Larry and Edna. And we kept them for 7 or 8 weeks, and they were so cute. We had so much fun with them. And then, what was it? Oh, then we took them to the shelter, after they could be weaned from the mom and everything. So we took all 3 cats, and it turned out that Edna was an Edward.
Oh. Well,
apparently Jenny and I don't know how to look at cats. So
easy
we had, and so they changed the names to Edward and Bella because that was right around when Twilight was a big hit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's a fostering thing, and I know you got a number of people that foster animals. Could you tell us more about that? And then also, what else can people do to help?
Okay, so going on to the foster part of it, if you are interested in maybe taking home a dog or a cat to foster, which means you basically treat it like your own pet until somebody is willing to come check that pet out and maybe adopt it. There is some paperwork. Obviously, there's always forms to fill out, right? So you make an appointment with one of the staff at Almost Home. Call, and they will send you the paperwork to fill out. I think they actually do a house check so we don't get animals into a bad situation. And I don't know if we have been talking about redoing some of the pieces to our fostering program. So there may be a time limit. And I think the time limit is actually a pretty good idea because you don't want to get too attached to the pet. However, you don't want to keep it so long that people forget to kind of come see, hey, this pet is still available. So some people have that pet in their home for maybe a year. Others maybe just a couple months. Like in a kitten situation, the kittens need one-on-one care. You would know, Jeremiah. So they might only keep them a couple weeks. You would definitely get to pick, whether you're a cat person or a dog person, what you would like to foster. Another way to somewhat foster but not have the pet in your actual physical home is just to sponsor a pet out at Almost Home. And we do have a couple people that are willing to sponsor. And so what that means is you just pay for what that person, well, dogs are somewhat people too, right? You pay what the dog or cat needs. So it's rabies vaccination, or if you want to buy special treats for the pet, or if you want to come in and give the pet a bath or give it some attention. It's kind of known as your sponsor animal until it gets adopted. And then some people are done. They don't want to sponsor anymore. They had that one, and others just go right down the line. Okay, give me the next one. One of our sponsors likes to take on the dogs that were there the longest. So she spoils them. And I think that's awesome. Like kindergarten classes have the grandma or the nanny in the classroom. We kind of have our sponsors helping our dogs get a little spoiled.
They need it.
So I just pulled this list up because I had one of these newsletters.
Yeah.
And some of the things that the shelter needs is, well, it says $25 covers food and shelter for one night for an animal in need. $40 for a veterinarian exam. Annual vaccinations. They need to be neuter surgery for one shelter animal. Cat litter for 1 month. $160 covers cat litter for 1 month. That's kind of crazy.
It's outrageous, and prices just keep going up. We see this everywhere. So, anything that people can donate helps tremendously. You really don't realize how much. And when you have even half the dog population that we do, it's still a whopping number every day just to keep the shelter open. So, a lot of shelters that may start out no kill, they are like, okay, we're going to make it. They have to end up going to government aid or state aid. Well, then you stop making the decisions for your shelter and someone else makes them for you. That's where we just have said, no, we are not going to do that. So sometimes we're really, really hard trying to keep the doors open. And other times we get really blessed. People come in with a surprise check amount, and it's like, oh my gosh, how did you know we needed this week? It's amazing. So our community is wonderful in helping us.
It is, and I know the staff is amazing, but people don't realize that you have to pay staff, you have to feed the animals, and gas and lights is not free or cheap in a building that size. I think I was joking with Todd about Fort Frenzy. I was like, I bet your heating bill every month is crazy. And he gave me the number, and it's like, yeah, it's those kind of things cost a lot of money, and you got to have money coming from somewhere.
And you don't think of the water and our sanitary, the garbage collection, that type of stuff either. We have to pay for all of that too. So we don't get a break on anything. And some people may think, oh yeah, they're a nonprofit, they get everything for free. That is a huge misconception. Mm-hmm. Nothing further actually from what actually happens. But other ways that people can help, if you say you don't want to go actually out to the shelter and walk through the noisy kennels, stay tuned to our newsletter or online. We have plenty of things to choose from if you'd like to donate. It's getting easier and easier to shop. So get on Amazon, get on Walmart, I don't know, wherever you want to, and just click on some dog food. Sometimes we list certain brands or certain kinds of dog food. Typically, it really doesn't matter. Kitty litter is always a must. It's just, we can't have it, not have it. It's a necessity. Yeah. So if people want to just click that and have it sent to Almost Home, it's that easy. Other things that people can do, and I hesitate to say this because we haven't opened to the public yet, but kids and high schoolers, college kids who need extra community service hours.
Volunteer hours.
Yeah. Yep. Great to come out and either take the pets for a walk, play with them in the dog park, give them baths, help just socialize them. Some are terribly afraid of people. They've been neglected or abused. So it takes a long time for staff to get to a point where they can touch them or give them a little bit of human love. So that type of thing goes a long way. And it just prepares them for people who want to meet them. They're not
I think that's out. Amazing. That's amazing for the kids too. I mean, I remember the old shelter, I went in there for some reason, and they had one of the young kids in there that actually got in trouble and was doing community service for the city or whatever. And I probably shouldn't say her name, but the cat lady at that time was kind of like that rough lady. And she was so awesome and hilarious and outgoing. And she was just bossing this kid around a little bit. And I was like, hey, how are you doing? And he goes, this is the best community service you could ever do. I get to be around the animals and just clean this and that. And he smiled when he said that. And it just made me so happy. It's like, this kid got in trouble for something. And here now he's working around animals and he's caring for them. And I think that's like a good thing. Like some people going down the wrong path and all of a sudden, I don't know. It's
I agree.
Animals are a responsibility.
They're a way of therapy in a lot of different ways. So that's good. The other two ways that I had listed for becoming involved or helping, we are currently kind of looking for new board members to fill our open spots. So that doesn't mean you have to go and clean kennels. It doesn't mean you have to give any dogs or cats baths. You just come once a month. We are currently meeting on Zoom still. So you could become a board member and donate. Pretty much the time is probably the most significant donation that a board member would donate. And then becoming a part.
A board member doesn't have annual fees and everything because some boards do.
No, we don't. We don't have annual fees. Whatever we need as a shelter, as a community out there, if you're good at that particular thing, it sounds bad to say it's expected for you to kind of help in that area, but that's what a board member would do in any other board as well. If your expertise is in financials and that type of thing, then you can serve in that part of the board. If you're good at fundraising and getting out there and being socially, whatever the word is, engaging to other people, then you would probably be more of that spokesperson in group settings. And if that scares you a little bit, the last thing that you would be invited to do is help on our fundraising committee. So we have our annual fur ball every year. We do have an annual almost homecoming dance and dinner type thing. Lots of other smaller fundraisers throughout the year. So if that's all that you would like to do is help with designing or decoring or putting little things together, an organization type thing, that's another way you can help serve.
Awesome.
That's awesome. There's a lot of things you can do that I didn't even think of some of those. And you talked about that fundraising person, and that is probably the most difficult job in the world. I can go talk to a tree stump. I can talk to anybody, but I tell you what, to actually ask them for money for anything is a whole different animal, if you will, because it's really hard to have that personality and be after that day after day. So, and you guys are a great cause. So if there's somebody out there that's good at that, by gosh, get in there and help, because you guys do need it.
Are you still looking for washer and dryers? Is that something that's still?
We did get I can't say it was a very nice set. I can't honestly say what it was. I haven't seen it, but I know that they did get something in. But because we use our washers and dryers so often, I mean, all the bedding and everything gets washed every day. If anybody has an industrial type one, yes, we would find a place for it and turn it on.
So is it gas or electric or both? The hookups that you have?
That one. I know that we've had that discussion. That would be a good question for Rachel. I don't know. You stumped me on that one.
It's all right.
But that is another misconception of, I'll touch on that briefly, and then that's all that I had on my list. So a lot of people think, oh, it's a shelter. They're diseased. There's something wrong with them. They're unwanted. You know, just that stereotypical, and that is really not at all accurate either. Yes, if we find a stray dog with fleas or with a certain disease, they are isolated. They are not put in the public area with the other dogs. They are not even being able to be seen by people who would walk through. They are isolated, taken care of, treated. And then when they are 100% back on their feet, then they go out to the floor. So their bedding is washed every day. Like I said, their food and dog bowls are sanitized every day. So it's not one of those things where you're walking into a place where you just throw the food out and there they are. Each one gets very well taken care of.
You know, there's one thing I want to say is there's a big misconception where if you want a certain kind of dog, it's unbelievable that Almost Home might have it or might have it come in tomorrow or next month. And, you know, sometimes it's like, how big of a hurry are you to get that dog? So like, let's say a beagle, you want a beagle, just wait. You know, like there's a really good chance a beagle may be coming in at any minute, you know. My story is we wanted a dog that was a lot like our old dog. So I went and talked to Rachel and said, I have 4 kids. One of them is 1 year old. You know, like we have to have we want a puppy. We want him to grow up into our family. We want to have him for 15 to 20 years. And, you know, with the cat, we just went and got the oldest cat ever, you know, but with the dog, it's like we want him to raise it, you know, like be one of the kids, you know. And Rachel called me every time a dog of our category popped up, and we went and looked at a couple dogs, and we ended up finding 2 and brought them home.
2,
but,
yep.
But, you know, if you want that lab or you want that Dalmatian or you want that whatever it is that you want, there's a chance the shelter will have it. And I also want people to know that just because you want those dogs, mutts live longer, on average 2 years, and are usually healthier. So, I mean, once you're like attached to an animal, does it matter what kind it's it? See, I mean, like, come on, you know? So
right.
Those are the kind of things I just want to squeeze people every once in a while. It's like, you know, your dog's life expectancy is like 9 years, and my mutt is going to live for like 17 years, and it doesn't know what it is, but that's fine with us, you know.
Fine with me.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Question, this is one of our longest ever. So last question, and it's just kind of fun one. What is your spirit animal?
Oh goodness. Okay, so I had to kind of think about this. I think that the best spirit animal would be a wolf for me. One, they go based on instinct. So whether that be something's pretty well planned out, or maybe you have to just go with your gut feeling and say no, that is a big part of who I am. Another thing is the freedom. Choosing where and when you get to do things. I think freedom would be I would hope that would be for everyone, but that was one of the things for me. And the last one is the social connectedness. So wolves have to travel in packs. They don't go out on their own very often. That is a huge thing for me too. I like to be in social environments. So serving on the board at Almost Home and having to roll up my sleeves and help with some of the animals and doing things there and fundraising and all that, it feels good to be that part, to help in that part of Almost Home and in the community.
That's awesome.
You do a lot for Almost Home, and Almost Home is good to have you, or what is it? lucky to have you. So
there you go.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And that means it's good for the community. And so you do a really good job, and you do more than a lot of people think. So thank you.
It goes both ways. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Well, thank you for your time today, Andrea. And we will be back next Thursday at 10 o'clock with another Talk Fort Dodge.
Wonderful. Thanks for having us. And thank you for your help in having Almost Home be on.